Dear students, welcome to Rats in Pathology, and we shall continue with our classes in hematology. A case history, as usual. A 15-year-old male with a long-standing history of dyspnea on exertion gradually developed a distaste for fatty foods. He came to the hospital, and on examination, he was found to be jaundiced. And he also exhibited pain in the right hypochondrium. An ERCP was done, followed by a surgery. I hope you people will be able to identify the key words in this history. And on surgery, there was a resection of this organ. I find that there are multiple dark faceted structures in a bag-like container. I would like you to discuss the pathogenesis, blood picture, differential diagnosis, and other investigations for this particular disease. I'm sure you people would have made the diagnosis, and it is hereditary spherocytosis. A catch in this: it is a disease of a young child, maybe 3 years to 5 years, but sometimes it takes a longer time to manifest. So have that in mind. And also there is a differential diagnosis, which we shall be seeing later on. The importance of this topic is given in the enclosure. What is the definition of spherocytosis? It is an autosomal dominant disease characterized by a defect in the red cell membrane. This makes it spheroidal and less malleable. Malleable means it can fold, it can unfold and pass through narrow capillaries. This property is lost in spherocytosis. And the major consequence of this is splenic sequestration or destruction in the spleen. The differential diagnosis includes acquired spherocytosis. Fundamentals are fundamentals. So let us see what is this. So this is a red cell membrane. Always a membrane is supposed to be a bimolecular lipid layer enclosed in two monomolecular layers of protein. And the structure of it goes like this. Spectrin. This is a spectrin that we are seeing. This helical band-like structures. This is something like a cable network, and you find pairs of them are there. The beta spectrin and the alpha spectrin, and they are knit together. So this forms a network below the red cell membrane. And you find that there can be dimers and tetramers. Two of them are dimers, and plus another two, they form the tetramers. Actin and protein 4-1 connect them. So this is actin over here, and this is a protein 4-1. These connect them. And also you find that there is ankyrin and band 3. Ankyrin is over here and band 3. These happen to be a vertical connection between the red cell membrane and the spectrin. So you find that there is a network not only below the membrane, but also between the membrane and this meshwork, leading to a kind of a technical support to the red cell membrane. So when there is a defect, it happens to be a membrane disorder. So this is called the cytoskeleton. You people will have to explain the normal cytoskeleton of the RBC. And what is spherocytosis? It can happen whenever there is a deficiency or a dysfunction in spectrin, in band 3 or band 4-2, protein 4-1, 4-2. Band 3 and protein 4-2, actin and 4-1. So when there is going to be a defect in any of these things, it can lead to spherocytosis. So please mention this one, draw this diagram. This is a normal RBC that we are seeing, that is discoid. You find it is dorsoventrally flattened, and there is also a depression over here. it can pass through any of the narrow capillaries. But what happens in spherocytosis is it becomes rigid and particularly more circular or even spherical. And this is due to defects in the cytoskeleton of the RBC. And by the by, you find that a part of the cell membrane will be pinched off. It becomes gradually smaller and smaller, and the sphere is the smallest form with membrane stability. Beyond that, it is almost like a stretched balloon. It will burst. The RBCs become progressively smaller and they attain a spherical shape. Later, they are not able to bend and unbend, as a result of which they are trapped and devoured. What is the blood picture? This is a must know. Always in hematology, I used to tell you people, the blood picture, the bone marrow picture, and the pathogenesis. Pathogenesis we have seen so far. And in this blood picture, I am able to see multiple dark round cells. Normally, an RBC is supposed to have a central area of clearance or pallor, which is not there, and the cells are uniformly round, dark, and spherical. They are called the spherocytes. And this being a hemolytic anemia, there will be destruction, and I'm finding larger violetish cells called the polychromatic cells or the reticulocytes, having a purplish tinge. These are the polychromatic cells or the reticulocytes. Because there is a lot of destruction of the RBCs, more of these cells are being formed. The hemoglobin is initially low, 7 to 10 grams, but it can become lower when there is more severe hemolysis. Initially, it is compensated by means of hematopoiesis, but later on this is not enough. The patient goes in for a severe anemia. RBCs are otherwise normocytic, normochromic. This, for example, there is a normocytic, normochromic, but there is a spherocyte as well. Spherocytes as well as microspherocytes can be seen. In some cells, I am able to see a Howell-Jolly body. Look at this one. These are all inclusions called as Howell-Jolly body. Polychromatic cells are seen. They are the reticulocytes. The normal reticulocyte count is 0.2 to 2%, whereas in this case, it can be as high as 5 to 20%. Osmotic fragility is increased. The cells are friable, and the red cell survival can be studied by means of radiolabel red cell survival study. This is a very important pathogenetic diagram which you people shall and will draw. So this is a normal RBC, but in the case of spectrin or ankyrin deficiency or any of the cytoskeletal abnormalities, you find that there will be blebs and small microvesicles are being released. These microvesicles are all devoured or eaten up by the phagocytic cells. And the cell becomes smaller and smaller, it becomes a spherocyte. As I told you earlier, the spherocyte is the smallest cell that is possible. And in this one, there can be a deficiency of band 3 or 4-1. Again, there can be the microvesicles, which can lead to the formation of the spherocytes. Once the spherocyte is formed, it is entrapped in the splenic sinusoids. And whenever the pH is low and it is in contact with the macrophage, there is a phagocytic activity which leads to hemolysis or destruction of the RBC. Still, it comes out and it tries to become normal, but there is a further loss of membrane. It becomes smaller and smaller. These are called as microspherocytes. An entire circle goes on, but it re-enters the spleen again to be trapped by the sinusoid, and the phagocytic activity continues. So this is called the splenic conditioning according to the situation present. So this particular diagram is very important. So you people must write, must draw, and must explain. Very important for all of us. Do not forget it. So again, the blood picture, I'm able to see small cells which are not having a central pallor. These are the spherocytes. These are cells with pallor that can be seen. So the blood picture, it has been explained earlier. But there can also be an anemic crisis, just like a sickle cell anemia. you find that there can be an anemic crisis, there can be a hemolytic crisis. Sometimes patient can present with leg ulcers, usually cholelithiasis or gallstones is the complication. The differential diagnosis, as I mentioned, it can be present in other conditions such as burns, autoimmune hemolytic anemia, hemolytic disease of the newborn. Please mention these three and you score a mark for it. So, this is a particular blood picture, we can explain it. The RBCs are predominantly, they are all normocytic, normochromic, but then there are a good number of cells which are not having central pallor, they are also appearing smaller. So they are all the spherocytes. And some cells are small, they are called the microspherocytes. Look at this fellow over here, microspherocytes. There can be a few polychromatic cells as well. WBCs and platelets are unaffected because it is only a red cell membrane disorder. This pathogenesis is what I was trying to explain, and you people can see. This is a normal discoid shape of an RBC. In a case of spherocytosis, there is a membrane abnormality and part of the membrane bulges out. And with this kind of a pathology, it has to pass through narrow capillaries. And so what happens is once it is more rigid, it is not malleable, you find it attains the shape of a sphere. So because each one of this is being pinched off every time it goes through a narrow sinusoid by the histiocytic cell. So it becomes smaller and smaller, more spherical and rigid. Ultimately, you find it gets enwrapped and the splenic macrophages, they devour or destroy it. So in pathogenesis, I would like you to kindly remember these steps. It is fundamentally a membrane disorder. There is a rigidity that develops, stasis in small capillaries such as the splenic sinusoids. The extensions are pinched off, a spherocyte develops. Again, phagocytosis continues, leading to complete lysis of the cell. A must-draw picture. Again, a diagram over here, bimolecular lipid layer enclosed between two monomolecular layers of protein over here, and these are the spectrin. These are like cables. You find that there are two pairs of it, the alpha and the beta, and they can be called as dimers, and sometimes they join with the opposite side to form the tetramers. There are also the other substances such as the 4.1 and actin. These help in forming a more rigid structure because they are in touch with the cell membrane. Similarly, at the other end, we have got band 3, 4, 2, and ankyrin. All these together, they form a very rigid structure that maintains cytoskeleton. But when there is going to be a defect in any of these things, spectrin, actin, 4.1, ankyrin, and 4.2, there is a red cell membrane disorder which leads to spherocytosis. Please memorize it. Another test that can be done is the osmotic fragility test. As I told you, the sphere is the smallest sustainable form, but it is very fragile and it is subject to an osmotic test called as the osmotic fragility test. So this is a normal one and this is a case of hereditary spherocytosis. You find that even in a small amount of saline, there can be a hemolysis that can be caused, and this is plotted onto a graph. This is better explained by these diagrams. This is a normal control series, and this is from a patient with spherocytosis. In a normal control, when you centrifuge and it is in a solution of sodium chloride, the cells are all settled here. They are all called red cell buttons. But the hemolysis starts from 0.48, etc. downwards. 0.44, 40, etc. It starts at 0.48. Whereas in a case of spherocytosis, you find that it starts much earlier. 0.68 itself, it starts. So the hemolysis, it continues. So these cells are very fragile in a case of spherocytosis. This particular diagram you people can draw, it is not very difficult. And what are the clinical manifestations? Jaundice, because it is a hemolytic anemia. Unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia is anemia. Cholecystitis, inflammation of the gallbladder. Cholelithiasis, formation of pigment stones. Splenomegaly will be there because it is very active. Erythrophagocytosis is again carried out by the spleen. hemosiderosis because of the destruction of the RBC. So these are all the manifestations. And the treatment will be splenectomy, cholecystectomy, of course, pigment stones will be there, and inflammation. And you'll have to give a supportive treatment to the patient because he is anemic, jaundiced, and so on. This is the ERCP that I had mentioned. Endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatography, ERCP. Endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatography. And this is what is being done. So the esophagus, this is the stomach, it enters over here, goes to the duodenum, and from there, it is such a flexible instrument, it can go into the pancreatic duct or into the common bile duct, etc. So that will be able to photograph and diagnose any pathology such as a tumor, calculus, etc. And this particular mode of investigation is called as ERCP. Look at the flash over here. It is attached to a camera and the endoscopist can visualize the entire picture, gastroenterologist. So this is ERCP, endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatography. So SENPAC. And what we have seen until now is the definition, the red cell membrane, pathogenesis, differential diagnosis, blood picture, osmotic fragility, clinical features, and treatment. And before I conclude, this was once asked as an essay question, and I was taken aback. But then the students had written a spectacular answer of my notes, and they all got excellent marks.